Welcome, everyone, to Rising Out of the Chrysalis Stories That Inspire with Marissa Grace, where we share life stories of struggle and triumph, not only of my own life experiences, but also through the experiences of my guests as a way to help you have breakthroughs and find hope in your own life. I'm Marissa Grace, and today I have a special guest, Tracy Montgomery, who has an amazing, aspiring story to share with all of us. So welcome, Tracy. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you. Welcome to everybody.
So, Tracy, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and what you do right now.
So my name is Tracy Montgomery. I live in Wales in the UK. I'm former teacher, and so now I use those skills in an online program that I have for midlife women called Menopause, Midlife, and all the insert whichever four-letter words you feel appropriate here.
Of course. So tell me, about your story that led you to what you're doing right now and this lovely work.
Yeah, so I came through, as I said, I'm a former teacher, so my career was going well. I was on management level. My family life was going well. I had a daughter, a husband, and then the wheels started to come off, and they came off quite rapidly. I was diagnosed with a strange heart condition and wasn't allowed to drive. So that meant that I had to stop driving to work, and I had to pivot to teaching online. So it wasn't the same sort of responsibility. So we had to organise all of that. And as we were getting used to that, my husband was still out working at the time. My daughter had an illness. She had a virus that we thought was just like any other virus that was going around. We ended up calling the doctors, and she ended up being called into hospital, and she was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So at the time she was 8. So a little bit of a shock. I had a little bit of understanding because I'm a science teacher, so I understood how it affects her. And I understood the basics of what we needed to do. Didn't realize the commitment to it until we were well into it. So that happened in the January. So I'm off work, working from home as an online teacher. So luckily it meant that it was a bit easier for us to deal with my daughter, because then I didn't need to go back to work. By the end of the year, so my daughter was diagnosed in the January, by the end of the year, my then husband, he'd had a routine operation that had gone slightly wrong, and he developed a condition called chronic regional pain syndrome. And he ended up in a power chair. He couldn't move around. So I'd got my daughter with one condition, and then my then husband with another condition. My daughter has and does cope amazingly well with her condition. My husband didn't. He didn't take on board everything that could happen to him, and he became controlling, narcissistic, and he segregated us and separated us from our support system. So we lost a lot of friends that were around us. We were kept away from people, and then he started manipulating us in other ways, so that we eventually ended up homeless because of him taking control of things and acting inappropriately. He blamed others rather than taking responsibility for what had happened to him and trying to deal with what had happened to him. So got to the point where he wasn't safe to be around. So myself and my daughter had him removed. We had to have him removed from our home. And we found ourselves on our own, homeless, in debt. So we had to, I had to, because she was only a minor at the time, had to find us somewhere to live. So we had to move into social housing. And we then I had to look at rebuilding myself to support her. Now, she's now a teen. She's now at college. She's very independent. She's very capable. but I've had to put all of my efforts into her to make her, or to allow her to become what and where she is. We got to pandemic time, and I'm an older mum. You might see I'm a bit older than some mums around. So we're going into the pandemic. I've got a teen, and I started to feel more fatigued. I started forgetting things. I started to have the hot flashes that would go on for an hour or 2 hours. I would get migraines that lasted 3 days. And I started thinking, oh, it's just the pandemic. It's just the stress of what's going along. I didn't connect it to something that happens to all females at the time, because we were quite segregated. So I didn't think to talk to anybody else about what was happening and what I was going through. It wasn't until I had quite a major event that I ended up having to call the doctors, because I was in so much pain. I was menstruating quite heavily that I couldn't actually stand up straight, and I was shaking. So I thought, I need to do something about this, because this isn't normal. So at this point, I eventually found out, because I'd just been blocking it like a lot of us do. And this had been going on for practically the whole of the pandemic. So we're talking from about the March 2020 until the August 2021. So it had been quite a long time that I'd been putting up with this and thinking it was just the stress, not correlating it to the fact that I am female and that my hormones were having a little bit of a hissing. Didn't connect that at all until I had this one event, and the doctor said, I think this could be the start of perimenopause. So perimenopause is that bit, the bit where everything goes all pear-shaped. And once I'd got myself an appointment with gynecology, who told me I was too old to be going through this, and I'm like, no, I'm here, I'm going through this. Our local doctors have an amazing nurse dedicated to women and women's health conditions. And we've talked quite a lot since about the age range, the symptoms, and the fact that a lot of women just do what I've done, which probably a lot of you've done as well, totally ignored what is happening to you and not taken into account the effects that it can have on yourself and everybody around you. Because I'm trying to support my daughter through not only the pandemic, but through her schooling. It's her exam years that we were looking at during the pandemic. So I couldn't show up for me. I couldn't show up for her. And part of me was thinking that I was rather thankful that we were in the middle of the pandemic, because there is no way I could have held down a full-time job at that stage. There were some days where I couldn't manage to get dressed. A cup of tea was a stress. So I started thinking to myself, there must be other women that are in this situation that totally ignore what's happening and don't do anything about it. So started to research it and started thinking, well, I'm a teacher. I can talk to people. I can put programs together. So now we're looking a year on. I've got my program. So in my program, we discuss about the symptoms that you ignore, how debilitating those symptoms can be, and how alienating it can be, because we still don't talk about the effects that this huge hormonal transition can have on us. And to a lot of extent, we ignore it. So if you're in the middle of it, and I've noticed this now that we're out and about and talking to friends, we have become a little bit more open now that we started talking about it. But when one of us mentioned it to start off with, all we'd do was be, oh yeah, won't last long. Oh yeah, okay, we'll just ignore it. And then if you talk to women that have gone through the perimenopause and are in menopause, they don't give you any advice. A lot of them just laugh and say, ha, I'm out the other side of that. And it's like, I'm glad I'm out the other side. There's a lot of relief about it. So I started thinking that this needs to be addressed and that women need some support through this. So over here in the UK, it's become a little bit more prevalent. It's been in the news a lot about menopause and how menopause can affect women. And some of the statistics that are coming to the fore are quite shocking. I mean, we know all women are going to experience menopause at some point. The severity and the length is the unknown bit. And how it affects you is also unknown. But 99% of women are going to have some symptoms at some time during perimenopause and then on into menopause. 40% actually state that it affects their life to a certain degree. So that can be their relationships, their career, how they think about themselves. So that's quite a high number of the population. So population, you're talking, it's 50.8%, isn't it, that are women, that are female. So the majority of the population are going to go through this, and 40% of that amount of people are going to have a change in their personal circumstance. And it's acknowledging that this is normal and that you can do something whilst you're going through it. I think the main point that I've found with myself and my colleagues and bringing people through my support system is the mere fact that you're not alone, because we tend to go through this on our own without thinking that we can talk about it. There's still this big embarrassment about talking about the perimenopause and how it affects you, or we do the laughing side of it. We joke about it. It's, you know, things like looking for your glasses and they're on your head, the finding the keys in the fridge type of thing, those sort of things. We laugh about it and it's funny, but it's also can be scary. It can be really confusing, and it can increase a state where you're already going through a time when those hormones aren't there supporting you. So already your anxiety can be heightened, your self-confidence can be a lot lower, and your body is changing lots. I mean, if we think about it.
So I think when people laugh about it, just kind of like brushing it off, like, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to address it. And it's kind of like an acceptance, right? It is what it is, it's here, it is what it is. But in reality, they don't realize that it doesn't have to be that way, that you can change it. That brain, it's the brain fog, that comes into play, and there's something you could do something about that. Like, you could change that.
And I think out of most of the symptoms, the brain fog can be the scariest, because we're getting older. So there are other implications with you forgetting things as you get older. And there's this panic that it's not just the hormones, it could be something more severe as well. And then when you don't talk about it, you don't externalize it, it can have that spiraling, compounding effect. So
do you find that when you speak, with other individuals, that there might be a fear that, an underlying fear that maybe there's something worse, something that malevolent there that they don't want to find out, they don't want to face it, and so they just rather kind of brush it off?
A lot of that. And I think that's where a lot of the anxiety and the stress then becomes more heightened, because it can be the hormones to play, but then at the back of your mind there's something really, really wrong going on and really going to affect me in the future. And yes, it can. I mean, going through the menopause can affect how you are in the future, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be this bad forever.
Right.
Because once the hormones have decided that they're on their way out, your body becomes more adjusted to it. And I think part of knowing that the hormones are causing this can be a relief, and it's a knowledge of knowing that there is another cause there.
Right.
But it's not.
And and you can support there's support for the hormones, like
Yes.
having a balanced diet that supports the need for those hormones to function properly.
Yes.
Also,
Yes.
certain foods that will support the brain so you don't have that brain fog. There are things that you can do for your memory so you're not forgetting,
Yeah, things that
things
there's
and
little strategies that you can bring into your daily life that help you with your memory and your routines, because sleep is another thing. When our hormones start to play up, we get the insomnia, we get the waking up in the middle of the night, and learning how to adjust and adapt so that you get a better night's sleep, so that then all the other symptoms become a little bit less, helps as well. So knowing that the symptoms interlock and interplay with each other. So if you're allowing one to go totally out of control, it's going to have effects on others as well. And knowing that there are different ways of making the symptoms lessen depending on you and your personal circumstance as well. So like you say, there's the food, there's routines, there's
well, I wanted
medical.
to ask you this because what I find working with clients is our emotions, end up triggering a lot of our symptoms if we don't deal with them properly. So, what I want to ask you, because you went through in a period of 2 years such change in your life between you getting sick, then your daughter getting diagnosed, and then having to deal with your husband becoming ill, and then, becoming this other person that he wasn't before. That must have had a tremendous emotional impact on you. How did
Yes.
you deal with that?
Yeah, that definitely, coming from a position of being a teacher where you have to be quite confident of what you're about to do and what you're about to deliver, and then having that all taken away, my own self-confidence took a long time to come back. And that I did, and I still do now. I do morning manifestations of that. I know some people don't like doing them and don't see how to do them, but I bring those in within my program so that it's a calming time,
Mm-hmm.
so that it's taken, and it's helped me an awful lot because it sort of like sets the scene for the day then. So I've calmed everything down and I've rationalized what's happening around me. That's another way that helps me deal with what's to come today, what's to come the next day, and to make sure that I'm not allowing those feelings to get carried away and
Mm-hmm.
to go out of control. So that type of thing, the grounding side, the manifesting, and I don't meditate, but I do
Well,
an
manifest,
internal
when we say these meditations that um or manifestations, that is a type of meditation because
yeah.
you're focusing on, sometimes we think of meditation as just, like being quiet, like a Buddhist, but that's not necessarily what it is. It's just bringing your mind to focus, and
Yes.
and
Yeah.
bringing your mind into focus could be just that, reading some manifestation words or quotes, or listening to calming music that kind of grounds
Yeah.
you, or even gardening, or
Yes,
painting.
gardening's quite good. Yes.
Yes. Or, something that kind of takes you away from current reality. And so,
Yeah.
so anything that you enjoy doing, whether it's gardening, that you just, kind of go into this trance of relaxation because you're enjoying that moment, is a type of meditation.
Yeah, it stops you the overthink and the out of control think. It's just
Yeah.
bringing you back and then it gives you another level. If you don't like the term grounding, I know some people don't, but it gives you like a level playing field to start off for that day or that hour, however long it takes. But it just stops the overthinking bit where the anxiety can then jump on board, and then you start going the spiraling out of how am I going to cope with everything. So it just stops that.
Yeah. Now, did you go out and get help when you were going through all these things? Did you end up just finding these little things on your own that were helping you cope emotionally through the process? How did you find your way out of it?
Because we were so segregated, a lot of it I found myself. So I went out and searched, but it was at home search. So I didn't physically go out and talk to somebody, but it was a lot of online, a lot of books I found quite useful. And the color chart drawings, when you do the pictures that have got the black, they come as black and white, and it can be like a picture of something, a peacock or something, and you just do the coloring, the mosaics in. Those I found really useful because you just have to concentrate on what colors you're putting in where. Even I did a few paint by numbers. And because it's like, I didn't even, with those to start off with, I did quite a few of those because it took me to a place where I didn't have to apply my brain.
Yeah.
It was telling me what to do.
It's kind of a meditation.
Yeah.
What happens when we do those is we just go into a trance and we're not focusing on our thoughts any longer. And we're just focusing on that color. So it's, and that's what meditation is taking our brain out of focus of our everyday thinking and lives and all that stuff, and bringing it into focus so that there is, the body gets a chance to kind of calm down and release that stress from all that overthinking and all the trauma and everything. And it's this is why artists are able to express themselves through music, through dance, through painting, and they go into that trance and they just are able to express themselves from a different place.
Yes, because
and
you
it's
get
a
lost
wonderful, and it's a wonderful thing, because I think people get caught up in thinking that they just have to sit quiet and wait, but you really don't. You just have to find that one thing that will work for you.
That stops those too many chemical reactions happening, and then it's like a restart. It's like when your computer plays up, what's the first thing you do? You turn it off and put it back on again.
Yeah. So you got to reboot the computer. And we are the most sophisticated computer system. Our body is. So we need that reboot. We need to reset and get rid of the junk, the trash folder. Empty out the trash.
I think because we've got, not only will the hormones be playing up, but because we've got so many inputs now with social media all the time, we carry our phones with us. Even at our age, the majority of my friends now cannot cope without having their phones. I don't know about their teenage kids, but even at my age, it's like, where's my phone? I've got to have my phone, because there's this, like, it's our support blanket, our security, but we're bombarded all the time. So it's quite nice just to stop every now and then and just clear the brain out so that you've got that no more busyness, no more fuzziness going on.
And just have that reset, just reset the system and be able to, continue for the day. And, it's a great practice. And if we do that every day, it just resets us from the day before. Because, when we do not practice this, what happens? We just accumulate, one day after another day. And then you go to sleep and you're thinking about the same thing. So it just think of that pile. It just keeps piling on, piling on, piling
And
on.
we dwell
Yes,
on the past, that instead of living in the moment, we can deal with now, but we can't. We've got everything that's gone is gone, and we don't know what's about to come. So dealing with
absolutely.
what's happening now makes things smaller.
And easier to handle and to deal
Yeah.
with and to find solutions or answers or, okay, how can I fix this problem? It becomes easier to find a solution than if we just dwell on that pile of stuff that we keep carrying over
Yeah.
from days prior. Well, Tracy, this is a wonderful story that you shared with us. I'm so glad that you were doing this type of work. I want you to tell everybody how they can reach you and what is it exactly? How do you support them through your work?
Yeah. So the easiest way to find me is probably on LinkedIn under Tracy Montgomery, and to send me a message there if they want to connect. I have a membership program where we meet once a week and we discuss what's happening to us. I will lead part of it with things that we you may ask me about, or that I think are prevalent to do with menopause, midlife. So we do all of it. We do relationships, we will do careers, we will do how you're feeling about yourselves. And within the membership, we've got various strategies and techniques, some that we've discussed, but little strategies that are quite easy to adopt and adapt to you. So there's no set plan. You adapt it to you and you take out of it the strategies that you feel that are going to be suitable to you and to your life.
Awesome. So I'll have links below our video on how to contact Tracy. Thank you so much, Tracy, for coming in and sharing your story. Everyone, thank you for watching. Please make sure you share, subscribe, so you get notified when these videos come out every week. And like our podcast, our videos, and thank you so much for watching. Till next week. Bye-bye.